Hola, buenos dias. Today we're going to be talking about the present progressive. We don't use the present progressive a ton in Spanish, but we do use it. So let's talk about it just for a little bit. We're not going to spend a whole lot of time on the present progressive, just because we've had it so frequently. Okay, so quick review. The present progressive is used to discuss something that is happening right now. So it is that action in progress that we learned about when we talked about ser versus a star. So to form the present progressive, we conjugate a star in the present tense, and then we add the ando or iendo form of the second verb. Okay, so for AR verbs, it's the stem with ando. For ER and IR verb, it's the stem with iendo. Real quick, you will never, ever, ever use preterite progressive. So you'll never use estuvo, estuviste, or estuve, estuviste, estuvo, any of those that we just learned about estar in the last chapter. You will never, ever, ever use this. Okay, that's not to say that we can't say, oh, I was doing this. That's when you're going to use the imperfect progressive, and we will get to that because that opens the whole jar of worms with the preterite versus the imperfect, and we're not quite there yet. We've got one more chapter in between now and then. Okay, so it's always going to be the present or the imperfect with the progressive forms. So you're conjugating a star for the subject, and then the ando or iendo form stays the same no matter who is doing the action. Okay, so we are crossing the avenue. Estamos cruzando la avenida. We're eating popcorn. Ellos están comiendo palomitas. Okay, this should look pretty similar, pretty familiar to you. Okay, so let's do a couple of practice sentences. So you have some sentences on your notes. Go ahead and write those in Espanol, and then when you're done, hit play on the recording, hit pause, then do the sentences, then hit play, and then check your answers. Okay, number 1, I'm waiting for the subway. Estoy esperando el metro. You don't need anything for your for here. Because this waiting, esperar, means to wait for. All right, number 2. The police officer is giving a ticket to the pedestrian. El policía, and there should be a ley in there. Let me fix that real quick. El policía le está poniendo una multa al peatón. So since to whom is he giving it, we have to have that indirect object pronoun there. Okay. You could also say está poniéndole una multa, and if you did that, you'd have to put an accent mark on that E. He is not driving the truck. Él no está manejando el camión. They are following me. So you can write this one in one of two ways, because we have two verbs here. We can either put the direct object pronoun before están or attach it to siguiendo. So ellos me están siguiendo, or ellos están siguiéndome. When we have a pronoun, a DOP or an IDOP or a reflexive pronoun attached to the end of the ando, you have to add an accent mark to the ending, the ando or the iendo ending. This is a weird one. We're going to talk about this one. I don't know why I put this so early in the notes, but this is one of our irregular ones, so we're going to talk about that in just a second. Okay, why are you stopping in the middle of the street? ¿Por qué estás parando en el medio de la calle? Okay. So this tends to be really word for word with like how English lines up, because in English we use the present progressive all the time. In Spanish, we only use the present progressive to kind of differentiate from like the habitual or what's normally happening. It's like, oh, he runs every day versus he is running right now. Okay. So it's not used nearly as frequently in Spanish as it is in English. Okay, so now let's talk about some irregulars. So it's those present tense IR stem changing verbs. The IR verbs that stem change in the present are going to stem change in the preterite. They're also going to have an irregular present progressive form. They're just wonky, those IR stem changing verbs. Okay, so we have a few different types. So if it is an E to I stem change, it's going to use the same stem change in the present progressive form. So that's going to be your verbs like pedir, repetir, seguir, servir, vestir, decir. Okay, so all of those are still going to have that same E to I stem change. Pidiendo, repitiendo, siguiendo, sirviendo, vistiendo, diciendo. So asking for, repeating, following or continuing, serving, dressing, saying. Okay? It's going to be the same form. Then some other ones. So if it's an O to UE stem change, it becomes O to U. And this is going to be the same stem change that it uses in the preterite. Okay, so we only have a couple of those. So we have dormir and morir. And those become durmiendo and muriendo. Okay, I like to use muriendo for when I'm being melodramatic, like, oh my god, I'm dying of hunger, estoy muriendo de hambre. And I like to be melodramatic about it. You can also be muriendo de risa, dying of laughter, muriendo de, I don't know how to say boredom. I was thinking about that, but that would be a good one. So, but muriendo is a really good one to be, for being melodramatic, if you're like me. Okay. So, and then the other one. So, ER verbs that have a stem that end in a vowel. So, just like with the preterite ending, where the I changed to Y in the third person form, we're going to do that same thing here, and change it to YENDO rather than having that IENDO, because that gets a little bit hard to say. So, leer becomes leyendo with a Y. Creer becomes creyendo, believing. Caer is to fall. We're going to get this verb later. So cayendo instead of cayendo, because it sounds really awkward if you have that I in there. Leyendo, creyendo, cayendo. It sounds a lot smoother when we just change that I to Y. Leyendo, creyendo, cayendo. Okay. Traer is another one. Trayendo, construir becomes construyendo instead of construyendo. Like I said, it just smooths it out. I think that, oh, and one more, destruir becomes destruyendo. That's to destroy. You guys don't have to know those, but it's good to be able to recognize them. Okay, the stem changing ones will be on your test. I don't think might be only one or two of the Y ones, but it won't be any verbs that you don't know. Okay. So let's do a little bit of practice with these. So the men are building a bridge. So hit pause, translate the sentences, hit play when you're done, check your work. All right, number 1. Los hombres están construyendo un puente. We are dying of hunger. Estamos muriendo de hambre. My grandma's repeating everything. Mi abuela está repitiendo todo. The waiter is serving dessert. El camarero está sirviendo postre. I don't want to go. I'm reading a good book. No quiero ir, estoy leyendo un buen libro. What are you bringing to the party? ¿Qué estás trayendo a la fiesta? The statue is falling, la estatua está cayendo. What is the teacher saying? ¿Qué está diciendo la profesora? And you never want to separate these two. Your estar and your progressive form always go together, never separated. Police officers are dressing the statues for the party. Los policías están vistiendo las estatuas para la fiesta. Okay? And no reflexive here because they're not dressing themselves. What are they dressing? The statues. Okay. And one more. I can't see it right now because my little slider thing is in the way. He is ordering fries. Él está pidiendo papas fritas. Okay. Let me know what questions that you have on this. We're going to do some practice with this. A couple worksheets now. Like I said, this is really, it's just those IR verbs. Those IR verbs, the stem change in the present tense. It's all about those. They're a little wonky. All right, if you have questions, please let me know. Adios. Have a great day. Nos vemos pronto.